What's going on, good people? What's going on, good people? Happy Thursday to you wonderful people. It's J. Dwayne Garnett. I'm doing this thing solo dolo this evening, but I am totally ecstatic about how things are going and what things are going to be and what we're going to do. So I definitely wanted to tell everyone happy Thursday to you. As you can see, I'm doing this by myself tonight. Cordell, my boy, he had a death in the family, and so he couldn't make it. He's actually spending time with his family, which he should do. And we're just going to uplift him in positive thoughts, positive prayer, and any good vibes that you can send his way. So we definitely going to miss him tonight, but we definitely understand. He is sending his love. He will be supporting us from afar, and we will always be here for him. So again, he's not going to be here this evening because he actually had to spend time with his family because he did have a death in his family. So we definitely want to send positive wishes, prayers, and thoughts toward the rest of the Johnson family. All right. As for me, this week has actually been an exciting week. I don't know how you guys' week are, so you're going to have to talk back to me tonight. My week actually was definitely exciting. On Tuesday, some of the leaders with Love is a Parable, along with one of our corporate advocates, Tara Henry, who's the owner and operating manager for Office and Art Studio, along with a new friend of ours, Don, we had an opportunity to take a Stewards of Children's certification course, which is designed to help end child sexual abuse. And that is something that is very near and dear to my heart because I was sexually abused as a child as well. And we also just recently launched a junior advocate component of Love is a Parable. So we definitely wanted to make sure that we have things in place to protect our children. So I'm totally excited about completing that course, but I'm also more excited about being part of a community that will help end abuse towards our children. I see a lot of people that are on What's Going On to share. Thank you. I try to do what I do when I do what I do. And then we got Michelle on. Hey, Michelle, you didn't invite me to Taco Tuesday. I need a personal invitation to come, and you didn't make that happen. So I will expect it in the mail. It needs to be nice, and I want a nice little ribbon on it and stuff that says you're cordially invited. So make sure you get my invitation to the next Taco Tuesday, and I will be there. We got Brother Robert Walker. What is going on? He's been with us from the very beginning. And then we got Elise Evans that is on. Amber Smith, what's going on? We got Lenora that is on, and Lenora is on, and are you still in Atlanta? Well, you're traveling and you're joining in, so definitely thank you. And she said, great week, lots of unexpected things, so you're thankful. My wife is on, Lalita Garnett. And then, see, somebody I'm always welcome. No, I need an invitation. I don't want to hear that, but I know that I'm always welcome. I'm definitely excited about that. Another great thing, we actually are still in our training, course, the Love is a Parable training. So we actually had the second class this week, which was amazing as well. I'm always excited to lead those courses because you never know the individuals who will be signing up, and you never know what they'll get out of it. So the conversations are always super dope, and I'm excited about that. I can't wait to introduce to you guys the next graduating class for the Love is a Parable as well. What did you say, Michelle? Okay, I'll be sending an invite. Okay, I'll be waiting. See, that's my theme music when I'm sitting there waiting. So let's jump into it. Let me see if there was anything else. First, before I jump into it, was there anything else that was exciting? We had the class. We had the certification program. No. I think that was about it as far as the real exciting things. Oh, and I'm also at a place where my full-time job, I'm actually at a place where I actually like I have a job that I actually like. For those who don't know, ever since I left University of Phoenix about, it was over 5 years ago, 6 years ago, I haven't found a job that I could say that I just loved every day going to work, felt like I was empowered and things like that. And it feels good to finally find another job that I actually feel that way. I actually love my bosses. I love the environment. I love everything. So each day when I'm going to work, I feel like I'm contributing to something bigger. And that's so exciting because it feels like an extension of Love is a Parable. So it doesn't always feel like work. It genuinely feels like a place that you're going to be recharged and you feel like you're making an impact. So that's been exciting. Now they have been stressing me with those hours, but at the same time, it's been enjoyable every hour that I've been spending with my coworkers as well. Now, Nichelle, you said you had a great week, a lot of unexpected things. Let's see, you said you had a great time in the class as well. And then, Natanya, what's going on? I miss you, but I'm so glad that you're on, my sister. So we're going to go ahead and jump into it because we do have quite a few discussions, topics tonight. The very first one was, is love a choice or a feeling? And it's funny because Tashia is in the class, so you already know we kind of talk about this. We talked about this a little bit in the class, but we're going to go more in detail a little bit later. But I definitely believe that love is a choice. Love is something that you have to be intentional about. It's not something that you have to be intentional about it, and we can explain what those are because we believe that there are 4 different components of love that make love love. We don't believe that there's 4 types of love, but we do believe that there's 4 different components of love. But love is definitely a choice. You have to be conscious. It has to be something that you decide to do, to be, to exhibit, to live, to reside in. So definitely love is a conscious choice. Now, when we start talking about feelings, a component of love is a feeling, but that feeling doesn't make love love. Love is more than just a feeling because our feelings are nothing more than how we process things, how we process our other emotions, how we process the environment that we're in, how we process so many different things on so many different levels. So feelings is a component of love, but a feeling isn't love. I hope that makes sense what I'm saying. Again, so I believe that love is a choice. But I believe that based on how you synthesize love, there will be a feeling component to love, but love is more than a feeling. A feeling alone is not love. I hope that answered it. Let me see what y'all have to say. Hey, y'all, I'm trying to listen, be in the gym at the same time. Well, thank you for tuning in. I'd let him know earlier that Cordell won't be here tonight because he did have a death in the family. But hopefully he'll be back on next week. But most importantly, he's spending time with his family, and he needs as much time as he takes as much time as he possibly can, you know, to transition, to help his family transition and deal with this new experience for him. But it's just me, and we're glad that you're even trying to tune in from the gym. So I definitely do appreciate that. And then Tashia said, yep, I agree about it being a choice, a gift. We know that you do. So, should you change for someone you love? That is actually a loaded question because you're not changing for some. If you choose to change for someone, that is a choice. Should you do it, only you will be the person to determine that. I personally feel like if you're going to change, you should change for yourself. But I also don't believe that we actually change. I believe we evolve into who we organically are. I believe we uncover ourselves. And I believe that there can be a regression from that where we deviate from who we naturally or organically is as a person. But changing for a person, changing for a person, I don't believe that anybody should change for a person. I really believe that a person should want to change for themselves. Now, you can be inspired. And when I say about this, and I'm not just talking about from a romantic standpoint, you might see a moving story about how a person changed their life from the better, whether it was losing weight or being in the gym, like what Sean was talking about, and they had a positive outcome. You may have experience where you have seen someone, you heard their compelling story about how they decided to go to school or how they switched careers or how they finally change their goals and dreams. It wasn't that you changed because of that person. That person did inspire you to go after something that you may already went after, or uncover something that was deeply within you, and something that we may have not either had enough strength, tenacity, audacity, or even didn't know that was there that we had to unveil. So I definitely don't think you should change for a person, but I definitely believe that a person can inspire you. And I think that the change that happens should be an intentional choice for yourself. And if that person if that person is moved by your change, that's a bonus. But I also equally believe that someone can inspire that change within you, or change that unveiling within you. I hope that that's making sense. You can tell me if it didn't make sense. I'm trying my best to make sure it makes sense. And then Natanya said, love has to meet 4 components to be love. Come on, Natanya. Yep. I can't wait till you get back in the class. You're going to love this so much. I can't wait. But we're going to make sure that you get taken care of. And I'm glad that you're still remembering. And you're so right. What's going on, Tara, for being on? Thank you so much for being on. So let's get into the next one. It says, is there a such thing as a soulmate or a kindred spirit? You know, we actually get that question quite a lot. Like, is there such thing as a soulmate? Is there such thing as a kindred spirit? And we actually believe that there is a such thing as a soulmate. But what we don't believe is that a lot of times when we think about soulmates, or when we think about kindred spirits, we only think about that in terms of a romantic relationship. But I think that kindred spirits exceed romanticism. I think that kindred spirits can be those unexplainable bonds that we have with a person who just gets us. Terry and I was just talking about that today. Like, there are some people that we have known for a short amount of time who just get us, and they seem to understand, they seem to be in tune, they seem to be connected. That is a kindred spirit. I think that a soulmate is someone who actually you have an unexplainable relationship with. I think that that can be somebody that you're romantically involved with, but I also believe that that can be a type of platonic thing as well, where you just gravitate to certain people who have certain characteristics, aura, spirit, emotions, beliefs, morals, or even just unexplainable connections with certain individuals. And I think that those are kindred spirits, and I think that those are soulmates. And I don't think that it is just limited to a relationship, a romantic relationship at that, I meant. So yes, I definitely believe that there is a such thing of soulmate and kindred spirits. But I'm curious to know, what do you guys, how do you guys feel about that? Because we do have some people who feel like it's a little creepy when they start talking about kindred spirits, or basically mentioning anything that is spiritual, because they're so used to dealing with things that are not. So I'm definitely curious to see what you guys think, or how you feel about that as well. So you're definitely welcome to chime in. Natanya said, I believe it is. Soulmates and kindred spirits are extremely rare, though. I would like to see, well, I would like to get a better understanding of why you say that kindred spirits, soulmates and kindred spirits are rare. Because I do believe that a lot of times when people talk to me, I will tell them that I do believe that there is a such thing as the burning bush syndrome. And for those who are not fluid in scripture or anything like that, it's just a story of when Abraham noticed a burning bush, and the passage reads, and one day Abraham noticed a burning bush. And so what that has stuck with me is that there are several instances in our lives where there are things that are present, and they may have been present our entire life, and we just happen to notice them. One of the big things that falls in my category as a burning bush is love. Love may have been there your entire life, but it took you to get to a certain place to notice it. Your gifts. If you really start thinking about your gifts and your areas of strength, those are very well places and things that are have been there the whole time, and it just took one day for you to notice them. It was just one random day you noticed it, but the truth of the matter is they have always been there the whole time. So it definitely depends. But I do think that they're more common. And the reason why I think that they're more common, to tell you, like, if you really think about it, the very first time that we met, we just gravitated towards one another. We are extremely close. Even the very first time that you met my wife, the very first time you met the kids, the very first time I met your son, it was like we've known each other our whole lives, and we just came into each other's space and presence. So I definitely believe that it happens more fluently. I definitely believe that it happens more organically than we give ourselves credit for. But I think it's one of those things that we happen to just notice along the way, and it does sometimes feel like, wow, they come few far in between. But a lot of times those kindred spirits, those soulmates are like right there in our immediate surrounding, and it just takes us a minute to notice it. I remember I got my best friend. We've been best friends since we were kids. And he came up here, and we ended up having an event at one of our friends' house. And I remember as we were having the event, my best friend was with me, and my cousin was with me, and then Cordell walked in. It wasn't until that very moment that I realized that my best friend and Cordell were two of the men that are extremely close to me, and it just popped on me. We've been doing a lot of, like, me and Cordell have been starting Love is a Parable together along with my wife. We've been initiating things. We've been going to different events. We've been doing all of these things. And so over time, we've become extremely close. But it took me that moment to just sit back and reflect. And I was like, dog, we actually are closer than I even realized. And so some of those things, I think that sometimes it just takes us a moment to kind of step back and say, dog, it may have been here all along and we just didn't notice it. Sometimes one of the things that Brian said is that stuck with me is that sometimes things are present and we just mature to those things. It's not that that thing matured to us or even found us. It was there with us the whole time and we just matured to it. So I definitely think that those things can be one of the things that happens. Okay, then the next question is, why can't we connect better? And it was specifically addressed to brothers. Why can't we as brothers connect better? Oh, how you doing, Cornelius? Hey, Kim. Hey, Latrenda. Well, that's actually a tough question for me to answer, because when you have an organization like Love is a Parable, where one of the initiatives is brother empowerment, and we've seen like, on average, there are actually over 500 brothers that have connected to Love is a Parable, and there are so many brothers around the world who have actually said, like, I wish that we were in the Raleigh-Durham area, I wish that we were closer, who actually feel like this was something that is needed, and they feel like they are being empowered, and they do feel like they're connected. There are several brothers that we have grown extremely close to who are not immediately here in the Raleigh-Durham area. So I don't know, like, why can't we connect? And then Cornelius, you yourself, I feel like I'm extremely connected. I'm fortunate and I'm blessed to be connected to you. I met Troy, I met Rob, all of that. And I feel like there's so many connections that are happening, and it could very well be tied to, like, the familiar statement, like, you know, that burning bush thing. Like, we may be looking for a certain type of connection and not realizing that there are several beautiful connections that we are making every day, and that is growing. It becomes a web. So when I see you winning, or if I see you putting out videos, or I see you doing something, in my mind, I'm sitting there thinking, like, wow, we are really spreading out. And it's great to have a lot of positive brothers doing a lot of things. And I feel like I'm just connected to your motivational endeavors or your empowerment endeavors. And I hope that you feel connected to ours. So it's hard for me to really answer that question, because I feel like it is happening. And I feel like it's only going to get bigger and bigger as we continue to connect. I think what's most important is that the brothers who are pillars right now in our communities, who are pillars in our network, that we stay connected and don't allow certain things to separate us. Or if we're feeling like we're isolated and or alone, to make sure that we reach out to other brothers in our network to keep that bond. Because I agree, for so long there has been so much division that it was extremely hard to even trust that a connection could even happen. And I am fortunate to say that in this last year or so, I I have been fortunate to witness an acceleration of connections that have happened. Like you and I have been to True Pettigrew's events where he does his barbershop talks. Of course, you guys with Young Men for Christ, y'all do your barbershop talks with the youth, which is another great thing. And then I had the opportunity to be a part of the South Carolina Fatherhood and Male Achievement Conference, where they had over 500 fathers and sons come together to empower one another. So I'm fortunate to see it. And I hope that as we continue to come together as one, that we will begin to see those same things and those same experiences. So where you would never, so you won't have to question, why can't we connect? And that will turn into a statement of awe, like, wow, we really are connecting, and it's a beautiful thing. So I hope that that answered it and gave some insight, because that's what I was really hoping for. Let me see, Tashia, she said, it's just great to see men connect, especially brothers. 2020 is tearing the ceiling off of the word. We're tearing the ceiling off of the word separation. I agree with you. It is so beautiful to be in this family. My squad is dope. And I will say, Tashia, it is a wonderful thing to have you here and to have you along this journey with us. And you have been a positive contribution to everything that we're doing. And to Cornelius's credit, I would not only like to see more of our sisters, but more of our brothers come to the forefront. So he will have that opportunity to see what we're doing, not only behind the scenes, but also in front of everything else. Because a lot of the brothers who are connected to Brother Empowerment, what we call our collaborators, they just prefer to be behind the scene. They don't care about the limelight and none of that. So they are connecting, they are supporting, they are pushing everything that we're doing. We just don't see them in the forefront like a lot of times, like we may see our sisters. And that's a choice. And to be honest, I would rather have a brother truly supporting us, but has reservations about being in the limelight, than having people who are in the limelight who truly are not supporting us. So we are fortunate to have those brothers that are supporting us behind the scenes and giving us things that we need. And they feel connected. So I'm definitely blessed with that. Love is a Perilous Blessing. It's just an awesome thing to have that. You know what I mean? And then Sean said, I feel as though a lot of brothers are introverted when it comes to uplifting each other without expecting something in return. Let me read it one more time. I feel as though a lot of brothers are introverted when it comes to uplifting each other without expecting something in return. You know, I actually get what you're saying there, and I can see why you would feel that way, because even, to be honest, before Brother Empowerment even started, I struggled with receiving love, support, inspiration, motivation from men, because I was so used to receiving that from women. But what Love is a Parable, what Brother Empowerment has really taught me is how to receive that love and know that it's okay to receive that love, and be an expectation of, meaning if I put good out there, I should expect good. I should expect good to come to me, not directly from that person, but other people. And a lot of times what we have experienced is, I remember just being in downtown Raleigh, walking down Glenwood, and somebody recognized us from Love is a Parable or Brother Empowerment, and they just hugged us and said, hey bro, I love what you're doing and I appreciate what you're doing. And that's someone I never knew before. So I feel like if we normalize support and we normalize love for those who are a little bit more comfortable for being in the front, I think those who are behind the scenes, or those who choose not to engage in certain manners, will then see that it's okay to support and uplift one another, and it's okay to expect positive energy, positive love, to just expect positivity to be returned because they're putting it out there, you know? Trina said facts, and she said that's a word, and she said thank you. Oh, and she also said thank you, men. Thank you, LaTrinda, for doing that. So I hope that answered the question when it comes to why can't we connect better, because I see it happening. I do agree that the time will come because it will become so normalized that we will see it more displayed publicly as well. Mega church pastor steps down from the pulpit because he feels far from God, tired in soul. Did this pastor feel supported? The truth of the matter is, I think that this may have been the church, but I think that a lot of people who are in service capacities are feeling a detachment from their motivation and their inspiration for why they're doing it. Why do I say that? 2019, for me, Jay, personally, 2019 was probably one of the best years, but also one of the worst years for me as a leader of Love is a Parable. Why was it one of the best? One of the best because we've expanded. I would say our base, where our love network has really expanded. It went over into South Carolina, not just being North Carolina, but it went not only in South Carolina, but it ended up going into Georgia, and then it ended up going into Virginia. So we have a strong network in Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and now Georgia. That is remarkable. I had an opportunity to be a part of several conferences. I had a lot of speaking engagements to send the message of Love is a Parable. Those things were possible. I was also able to serve a lot of people in different capacities, but also it was the first year that I had to deal with the fact that there were some people who take advantage of good people and people who are trying to do right by them. It was the first year that I dealt with someone who actually, we performed services for them, conducted services for them, and they owed us. Matter of fact, they're still in debt to us. That was the first time. That was a blow. That was somebody that we truly supported. We truly tried to help. And once that person was uplifted, that person chose not to fulfill their obligations to Love is a Parable. So that was devastating to me because I thought that we were making an impact, a positive impact in that person's life. And that person was great as long as that person was receiving services. But as soon as that person got to a place where they were able to stand on their own 2 feet, they didn't fulfill their obligation. And that person does owe us now, it's well over $2,000. And $2,000 goes very far when we're trying to help other organizations, help other people. We provide food, clothing, other different services. We need venue spaces. We need other resources to help spread the message of unity, love, and kindness. And that person chose to try to taint our warp of how we see love and how we see unity by fully taking advantage of Love is a Parable and our resources, and chose not to fulfill their obligation. That was one person. And then additionally, there were 3 other people who did very similar things where they just chose not to fulfill their obligations. So it almost had me at a place where I was devastated because I see the good in people. And it made me question what we were doing and were we doing it the right way. And I realized we are doing it the right way. And the principles very tell us that we can exercise love all day, but that was an intentional choice that we made to do that. But there are some people who choose not to exercise love, who choose not to be in reciprocated relationships. There are some people who are so damaged, who are so hurt, that they look for ways to take advantage of people to make themselves feel good. So do I regret what I did for them? No. Am I grateful for the lesson I learned? Yes. Did it hurt learning that lesson? Heck yeah. Did it force me to reconsider why I'm in this? Yes. And because it forced me to reconsider why I'm doing this, I'm grateful for it because it solidified my yes. And I know that in due time, those individuals who feel obligated, it's going to bother them more than it will bother us because we're still moving forward and we still have exciting things that are in store for us. So I get that. And so to that, sometimes you don't feel supported. And that was one of those moments that I felt like we weren't supported. But then when I looked around, there were several people who connected with us who have our back relentlessly. There are several people who support us. And so I feel like, people who are in service capacities, whether that is in the church, whether that is with a charity, whether that is with a nonprofit organization, whether that is with healthcare, there are people who are in service capacities that struggle with their motivation of why they're performing that service, because it is easy to feel like you're just a service and no longer a person, and people take advantage of the want. So what I would challenge you guys to do is not question why this particular young man, if he felt supported. What I would do is challenge you to think about people who are in your current network and see if you yourself, or know if people are taking advantage of their kindness for weakness, if you will, and to make sure that you're reaching out, making sure that you're supporting, making sure that you're uplifting those individuals in your network, so that they won't walk away from their service and from their passion because they've experienced burnout and or hurt, So I definitely will challenge you on that. So let's see what you guys had to say. Michelle said, wow, I don't know, we're saying wow too. And then Kimberly said, dang, so glad you pushed. Thank you, Kim. And then Latrenda said, there was absolutely no other way for you to have that knowledge and experience. You have more tools in your belt now. And then Cornelia said he loved it. And then Brian said, keep on moving. You are all doing good things. Thank you. I really do appreciate that, guys. So then the next one is the concept of the law that you attract what you are and or what you project, and what that means concerning relationships. Yes, this question is directly linked to basically the law of attraction. The law of attraction is nothing more than what some people may call karma, or what some people may also call reaping and sowing. What you put out there is what you get. I definitely truly believe that. The only thing that I think that there is a caveat to that. I think that what you put out there, you may receive what you put out there, but it may not come in the same package in which you sent it. I think that sometimes we get caught up in looking for the way that we put something out there, and then that thing actually does come back to us. We just don't realize that it came back to us because it came back in a different package. For instance, and I think that sometimes, depending on where we are mentally, emotionally, spiritually, even socially, where we are will sometimes skew our perception of that thing. We were just talking about yesterday in the Love is a Parable course, is that sometimes we attract broken people. And we talked about this before, even on Brother Empowerment. Sometimes we attract broken people, and we're attracting broken people because we are those pillars to help them heal. And we attract, and sometimes because we're not know that these individuals are sent to us to help, we sometimes engage in relationships with these individuals, and then we fall out with the person. The person even becomes more severely damaged, but now we have trauma because we tried to make a relationship with people we should have been helping, not sleeping with, not being romantic with, not getting into an intimate space with. And not only does this happen on a romantic side, this also happens on an affable perspective too, because there are some people that are sent to us that we're supposed to help and they're broken, and we try to make them friends. And we weren't meant to be friends, not, at least not at that point. We were actually meant to help them get past their current situation, help them move on, help them heal. But we blurred the lines because we either looked at them as a friend or we looked at them as a romantic interest. And so that was an opportunity that we sent something out there saying, hey, I want to help people. And then the very people that you wanted to help were coming to, you were supposed to help, were coming to you, but you didn't recognize it because it was in a different package, because it wasn't a person that was coming saying, help me, but it was a person that was coming well-dressed, seemed like they had it together. We assumed that they were someone of compatibility, but they really was just someone that we were supposed to be helping. That's one way. Another way is there are some people, sometimes you may sow good into an organization, into people, and what ends up happening is that person may be unappreciative of that, but it may be 10 or 12 people who saw that. And so we get caught up in, oh, that person was ungrateful. I can't believe out of all the things that I've done for them, you know, this is how they're going to treat me. But because of that burning bush syndrome, we don't see the other 10 that are waiting to help us, that are looking for ways to empower us, that are looking for ways to support what we're doing. So I definitely believe it happens, but we have to make sure that we're not getting caught up in the same package that went out is the same package that come in, because sometimes it might be even better than the package that you sent out there. So I believe in the law of attraction on so many different levels. I believe in karma. I believe in the law, the natural and spiritual law of reaping and sowing. I believe in what people say, what goes around comes around. I believe in all of that, but I also believe that we must be in tune in how those things come back to us. Okay? Let me see. Okay, what's going on, LaMarco? And then Tashia said, law of attraction is real. So as you think, you will become. Manifestation begins in the mind. We create every single thing in our minds. Tashia said, I'm going to cash after you tomorrow. Tashia, you are something funny. Jakai, what's going on? And welcome to Brother Empowerment. Okay, so let's get into the next one. So the next one is the empath and the narcissist, and how to see the signs as an empath to avoid getting trapped in these relationships. That is actually a very good question, but I think that some of us, just for clarity, might need to just get a better understanding of what an empath is. An empath is a person with a paranormal ability to apprehend the mental and emotional state of another individual. So an empath is different from being empathetic. An empathetic person can relate and have the ability to walk in somebody else's shoes, where an empath is one who actually takes on the traits of that individual and that person. So let's put it in layman's terms. So if this was the case of a person was a true empath and they connected with a narcissist, that empath would then become a narcissist. Crazy, right? So we often think about just, an empath only take on certain characteristics. No, an empath have the ability to take on all of that, not just the depression, not just the secret thoughts, but we're talking about the whole thing. The other thing is we have to talk about what is narcissism. I can't talk. Because we are living in a world now where we have several individuals who are labeling, we have this extremist personality where we do have several people who are naming everything. For instance, a narcissist is a person who has an excessive interest in or admiration of themselves. See, we have to be very careful with this, because I remember growing up, we used to have the saying, people always say, well, I'm confident, not conceited. But to some people, they will translate your confidence as conceited. And then a person who thinks very highly of themselves, we'll say, oh, that they're a narcissist. But the truth of the matter is, you can be a narcissist without being selfish. You can be a narcissist without hurting other people. Like, here's the thing, like I tell people all the time, I grew up in a family where We didn't think we were better than anybody else, but we knew for a fact nobody was better than us. So, and that's very important to understand that, because we have this extremist mindset because I'm labeling a person as a narcissist. No, that person may be just selfish. That person may not think of themselves highly than anybody else. That person can just flat out be selfish. That person can just flat out be mean-spirited. Those are the things. But when we start talking about narcissism, that is very, it's on a thin line where we can confuse arrogance, conceitedness, and confidence. So we have to be careful with our labeling, and we also have to be careful when we assume something. We are an empath when we could be empathetic, or we could also connect to negative traits in an individual because they exemplify certain behaviors that we would either like to have or we hate about ourselves. So that whole empath and narcissism thing goes really deep, and it's not just a surface answer, but to answer part of that question, like, how do you avoid signs? The truth of the matter is you have to avoid the signs within you. Meaning, am I only seeing a person as a narcissist because narcissism lies in me? Am I picking up on the depression of another individual because I struggle with depression myself? Am I looking for certain behaviors that I can identify and I label them, and it's easier for me to project a disdain for those behaviors in another person because I choose not to deal with those behaviors myself? So that is very deep, and I always go back to this when people tell me how to deal with other people. The best way to deal with other people is to deal with self. If you're able to deal with self, no matter what type of person you encounter, you will not lose yourself. When we're not deeply anchored in who we are, we run the risk of going in and out and like changing with the weather, like whatever environment that comes around. If there's a whole bunch of people who act one way, all of a sudden we acting that way. Then when another group come around, we acting that way because we're not rooted in who we are. And then if we have certain people who are rooted in who they are and they challenge your roots, we will then label them with some type of extreme type label, like, oh, you're a narcissist. Oh, or you're this. Oh, you're that. No, but sometimes there are certain people that are just challenging the things that we don't want to be challenged. And we haven't found a place in ourselves where there is a resolve to deal with the roots that we have. Now, I saw a lot of comments coming up. Let me see. Kim said, yes. I don't know what part of yes that was. I'm sorry. And then Tashia said, child, it's hard on us as empaths. And then Latrenda said, welcome, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. Okay. And then Kim said, we're trending. And oh, Natalia said, please properly define. Thank you, Jay. Empaths have spiritual power and is draining on those who don't know how to control it. Man, a narcissist is a mental disorder. They're incapable of empathy or being able to love. Narcissists are not just arrogant. Everything about them is about trauma and not respecting boundaries. I will say that that's definitely something. There is a narcissistic personality disorder. But there also I think that a lot of times we're labeling certain people as narcissists that are not truly narcissists. They may just have behavioral traits that we don't either like, identify with, but the truth of the matter is that if it is a narcissistic personality, that usually comes from a professional that can label it as a personality trait. What we typically do is label it by the definition. So we have to make sure that we're not taking an extremist approach when dealing with difficult people or confident people. It was the time that people used to tell me that I was very arrogant. And the sad part is I can get why they would think that I was arrogant, and that's because I never suffered from low self-esteem. I never thought I was ugly now. And I'm very honest. Like, it wouldn't take nobody to tell me I'm fat to hurt my feelings. I call my own self fat. I know that I'm fat, so why would I get mad if somebody else called me fat? Yes, but I also know, just like I know that I'm fat, I know that I'm very good looking, and that ain't no question about it. But to somebody else, And then also because I have standards and expectations of myself, somebody may very well look at me and say, Jay is a narcissist because he don't care about nothing but himself. But that's far from the truth. It's just that I'm not going to lower myself to please someone to prove that I'm a servant. So that's why I'm saying more of the thing. We had an in-depth conversation, so I know you know the true definition. It's a lot of people who don't know the definition of these words, and they quickly label people as things just because they are buzzwords, or we lack a full understanding of it. But the best way to examine behaviors and traits and making sure that we're not connecting with certain individuals is to examine self. We have a tendency to examine self after a trauma. Why don't we examine ourselves before engaging with anybody? Examine your motives, saying like, why am I connecting with this person? Am I connecting with this person to see? And most of the time, I will say this, I have seen some people who are extremely selfish, but I won't say that they're narcissists, but I have seen some people who are so selfish that they get tunnel vision on what they want. They don't realize that they're hurting people in the process. And the sad part is these same people who are hurting people in the process don't even listen and don't have an intention. Like, they will come to you and tell you how good they are. They will say how sweet they are and all the things that they're doing, but they don't realize that they just bulldozer themselves over a lot of people, and there is collateral damage. But I have met a lot of extremely selfish people, people who just want what they want and not thinking about other individuals. So I have witnessed that, but equally I've had a conversation with these extremely selfish people, and they don't even know that they're that selfish. They really think that they are doing something good for a person, and a lot of times they hurt the person. So yeah, that can go really far. The next one was, let's talk about communication. And I'm always with communication. We did a whole spill on that. I'm big on communication, and I'm big on effective communication. And I think that a lot of people say that they're big on communication, but a lot of people just want to dictate and lead and tell people what to do. Communication is a transfer of information, ideas, communications, and beliefs. And so if there is no transfer taking place, it's not communication. You're just an orator. And also, communication is not just something that is done verbally. There's nonverbal communication as well. And so we have to make sure, what are we sending? What are we receiving? If you're not receiving anything, it's not communication. If you're just talking to somebody, it's not, if you're just talking at someone, it's not communication. Kerwin said self-reflection is first in order. Jakaya said, in my own experience, I may deal with anxiety or whatever, but it helps me take my eyes off of me and give to somebody else. Explain that to me a little bit. You said, in my own experience, I may deal with anxiety or whatever, but it helps me to take my eyes off of me. I get what you're saying. Okay, I get what you're saying. Yes, that may help you by taking an opportunity like, you know what, let me get into a serving capacity. But you don't ever want to get into a capacity where you're serving more, and you caught up in being a service more than being a human and being organically who you are. A lot of times we do serve, and a lot of times what we're doing is actually deferred therapy or deferred pain, meaning I can't fix myself, so let me fix something else. And so what ends up happening is we never deal with ourselves, but we do a lot of good things and hoping that doing those good things will somehow kind of way make us feel better. But the truth of the matter is, we're going to have to sit down one day and really address ourselves, But with the communication, we have to realize that communication, if done properly, matter of fact, even if done improperly, you have to be mindful of the things that are being transferred. I can't say that enough. You have to be mindful. The first definition for intercourse is communication. So you definitely want to make sure that what conversations are you engaging in? That's verbal, that's nonverbal. What type of exchanges are you allowing to happen? So you definitely want to make sure, because communication is very deep. And then also there are some people that you can transfer things with, because communication comes from the Latin word communis, which means to share. So, or what is commonly shared. So there are certain things that are going to be commonly shared in an exchange, and you just want to make sure that you're picking up what you want to pick up, and you're letting go of what you want to let go. But if we're not in tune and we're only looking at communication one-dimensionally, we run the risk of transferring something that could be very dangerous to us as individuals. Okay? Transitioning. The question is, from living one way and what they know and were taught, whether through family, social environment, social media, etc., to being happy and confident and being committed, and the great benefit and happiness that comes from that. So I definitely understand that a lot of time, and we see that a lot of us actually don't want to talk about how conditional programming or social constructs have shaped who we are. And because we don't want to have that, a lot of us are living in a place of pseudo happiness or pseudo satisfaction or pseudo gratification, where we're moving from one thing to another just to become happy. But the truth of the matter is that it's not organic happiness, because we're not feeling fulfilled. So what has to happen, one, is, Brother Kerwin already said it, is self-reflection must take place. And also you have to be intentional about the choices that you make. Once you are intentional about the choices that you make and you can stand on the choices that you make, then you start the process of transitioning, because guess what? If you're intentional about it and you know what you're trying to do, you very well, when people come, like me, I'm big on boundaries. I will tell people when they are disrespecting my boundaries. Also, I let people know when I am uncomfortable with certain behaviors or certain things. And that's because I'm intentional in my actions, and it doesn't matter who it is. I am not ashamed to tell people this is where I'm going. And also, it helps me better explain to people that whatever decision that I make is no reflection on you, it's a reflection on me. So it doesn't have anything to do with how my mother raised me. It has everything to do on how I want to live my life. It has nothing to do with my environment in Augusta, Georgia. It has everything to do with the intentional actions that I want to have on my life. And when I found out, when you are in control of your decisions, we tend to live a healthier, happier life, because we're not a slave to other people's thoughts, other people's expectations, trying to please other people. So I am very well a fan of, one, not transitioning, but actually unveiling and uncovering who they organically are, and having an intimate relationship with self, and truly accepting self, apologizing to self for not accepting self, but being in a place where they're deeply rooted in self, where they can accept self for who self truly is. So I'm definitely a fan for that, and I feel like more people need to have that conversation with themselves and make sure that they're not caught in the conundrum of pseudo success and the pleasing of others at the sake of sacrificing oneself. So we definitely want to make sure that that person is really going to make that, and that's not a transition, in my opinion. That's an unveiling, and that's an uncovering of who we are. Okay? Learning to dig deep to work out problems that may not know that they have, but know they have them by how they treat themselves and the women that they are involved with. Well, it goes back to that very first thing. Here's the thing, that here's a part of reality that people don't want to accept. No one can treat no one a way that one person has not accepted. Let me explain. My wife can't treat me no way that I didn't allow her to treat me. That's tough. Yes, I recognize that there are some people who will overstep them boundaries, but guess what? When a person oversteps those boundaries that I have in place, I have a choice to either accept it or not. We don't talk enough about that. And so sometimes we get mad at a person because we assume certain behaviors should be understood. But if you haven't articulated what your expectations are, you haven't given a person an opportunity to say if they agree to satisfying those expectations or not. A lot of times we assume that a person is going to do or conduct a certain way, and it doesn't matter what standards you have. It doesn't matter what expectations you have. It doesn't matter what morals you have. If you have not mastered communicating them, you have not put a person in place, and what you decided to do at that very moment is be a doormat. You decided to allow yourself to say, hey, come on in, walk on in, put your feet on the couch, do whatever you want to do. But you haven't said that. You can't say, oh, I've been cleaning all day. Don't you see the house is nice? No. If you allowed them to come in there and mess up your house and didn't say nothing, you gave them permission to do so. Silence is a form of consent. We talk about that all the time. And so if you have expectations, if there are certain standards that you have, if there are certain parameters that you have, if there are certain moral codes, ethics, and values that you have, articulate that to the person, give that person an opportunity to really accept if that's something they want to do. And then even after that conversation, you still have a choice if you would like to engage with that person. You don't have to work out. There are certain things you don't have to work out with. And a lot of times we sit there and say that, oh, I'm trying to give them a chance. No, as soon as you give them a chance, what you're saying is, I'm going to give you permission to abuse me until I'm tired of being abused. No, sir. No, ma'am. If you have standards, stick to your standards. Because guess what? If you allow somebody to break your standards or break your boundaries, they're no longer really standards. It's just empty words that you have at that moment. That's all that is. So we want to definitely make sure that we're transitioning from the ideology and the thought that just because I say it, that mean it, because there are a lot of idle words out there. There are a lot of things that people have said. I know people who have said that they conduct themselves a certain way and they live their life totally opposite of their words. So you got to have that conviction. You got to have that. You got to push what your standards are, and then you make a choice whether you will accept certain behaviors or certain people in your life. That's on you. Well, we done made it to that time where it's Positive Brother shout out. I definitely want to shout out the brothers who are on here. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. But I have to shout out my brother Cordell. I definitely missed him this week, but I definitely have him in my thoughts and my prayers. I definitely want to give him a shout out. Joseph Stout, who is on, my brother all the way from Arkansas. We got Kerwin, who is always on. And brother, I definitely do appreciate you. Cornelius, thank you for being on. Sean, thank you for being on. LaMarco, thank you for being on. Brian, thank you for being on. Robert Walker, thank you for being on. Brothers, 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 listen to me. You're not in this by yourself. You're not in this by yourself, and you're not alone, and we can do this together. Sisters, 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 you're not alone, and you're not our enemy. We're not at war with you. We're not even trying to fight you. We actually want to live together in peace and harmony. I thank you guys for everything that y'all are doing. I thank you guys for the support tonight. It has been an amazing hour. And like I always say, if you feel like nobody else in this world loves you, know that at least Jay loves you and Jay values you. And then there are several people that are connected. For those who don't know about Love is a Parable, please visit us on loveisaparable.com. Also, I challenge you guys, share this message with any brother or sister that you think that this will help, but also invite your friends and your brothers and your sisters to the Love is a Parable page. Invite them to like it. Invite them to like it. Invite them to donate, invite them to give, invite them to have a conversation with us, invite them, but definitely invite them to the page, because this is the reason why people feel like there's certain things out there, is because we're getting it and we see it, but we got to share it to make sure that other people are getting it, because I do believe that it is possible to live in a unified society, and I do believe that love is the way. And I do believe that we can promote unity, love, and kindness while providing love education, love advocacy, and love wellness, and I believe that we can do it together and collectively. You guys have a wonderful night, and I love you.